a vision board party with a couple of men, not a couple, it was about 10 of us, 10 other men, man. We just had a vision board party and it was dope because that was my first time doing that, man. So we had a great time with that too. So it worked out well.
Okay, that's what's
Well,
up.
awesome, man. Well, first, man, thank you so much, bro. Man, we're super excited. Welcome to another edition of Boy Man King Live on our YouTube channel here with my boy Chizzy. What's up, fam?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's good to be. Oh, I always like these vibes, man. I look
Yeah.
forward to it every 2 weeks and we guys just catch up and we get to have some real good conversations. We get to talk
Mhm.
to some powerful brothers that's making a lot of moves,
Yeah,
introspective
and we got
brothers
and we
too.
got another we got another special guest, Team Light Skin coming in strong. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
He
indeed.
self-proclaimed, you know what I mean? Red is in the building.
In the
What it
Yes,
do,
building,
sir.
man.
man?
Appreciate
What's
y'all
Hey,
for
Red,
happening?
tuning
What's
in with
man,
me.
happening?
introduce yourself to the people, man. Let them know what you're about, man, how they can find about you, man, like what you're going, what you're doing, what you got going on in your world. Talk to the people, Red.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I'm walking a little bit for a minute. But yeah, my name is Marquis Red Jackson. A little bit about myself. What I do is I inspire people by means of poetry. And I
Mm,
do so by means of a book that I've released called Lost Boys to Men, From My Heart to Your Eyes. And so what else I do is I have a podcast called Red Inspires. And on
Yeah.
that podcast, I sent out a weekly episode. It's actually Monday and Wednesday. So Monday, every video is short. It's like between 2 to 5 minutes because I understand people sometimes have short attention spans. So I want to give them some impactful information within 5 minutes to get their day going. So I do that on Mondays and Wednesday. I'm also a youth mentor. I mentor at one of the schools I went to, elementary school. One of the mentors up there. It's called Young Men of Mathis. And shout out to Noel, man, because we got a virtual mentorship where we mentor young men virtually. So we're gonna get that started back up pretty soon, man. So other than that, I'm a father, I'm
Come
a
on.
husband.
Come
You know what
on.
I'm saying? I've been a husband for the last
Come
18
on.
years, been
Come on,
with my
been a
wife for the
husband.
last 20.
Come on, been a
uh
husband. That's what I
my
like to hear. Been a
okay.
husband.
He likes
yeah,
all
yeah,
he
for
likes all
sure.
that.
Yeah, so my kids range between the ages of my son turning 21 this year. My oldest
Okay.
daughter about to graduate high school, the same high school I went to, Southwest DeKalb. Salute, East Side was heaven.
Hey, okay.
Um,
Represent for the A. He from the
yeah,
south side
yeah,
represent. You know what I mean? But Red, man,
yeah,
first, thank you so much for being on the platform. One of the things we wanted to highlight in today's live, man, is kind of Women's Empowerment Month,
hmm
and we wanted to highlight on some of the episodes. We kind of talked about, how women have really helped our development. And I
yep,
wanted you both to kind of talk about like the reality of if you didn't have that commitment, right? If you didn't have that time spent, if you didn't have that space where somebody was supporting you or you were supporting them, you wouldn't be the version of man you are today. And I guess Chizzy, we could start with you because as you dealt with, not only having a significant other now in a courting world, but the reality is you respect and admire and understand the power of women. And I know we could speak to her from as husbands, but I wanted you to speak to her as somebody who was married, going to get married again. You know what I mean? But you know how powerful women are, and just how they helped you understand there's another version of you. There's another levels of you. There's another deeper conversation to you. You know what I mean? Sensitivity, awareness. Like, how does women help men bring those aspects out as far as their own development, separate of what the women do in their own individual right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've shared openly my story and my challenges in my past relationship. But everything is comes full circle and it's bittersweet because it allowed me to really, really just focus a lot on how I show up in those situations and how I've now had to make a 180-degree shift in even how I present, even in with
Mm,
co-parenting and even with my own daughter. I think the best way and the easiest way to learn about women is having to raise a young lady. My daughter's
come on.
16. And so the efforts that I put in to ensure that even some of my challenges and some of the struggles that I had and some of the wrongs that I've done do not get duplicated in terms of how she internalizes my relationship with her and what she'll potentially choose for a partner for herself. And
Mm,
so that's the journey that I embrace, that I love. Just yesterday, She was coming from practice and she called me. She was like, "Daddy, man, I can't move my neck." I'm like, "What you mean?" Like she was in practice. She was training, and she got a slight little pinch in her neck. I guess her traps became tight. So I was giving her some game on how to do that. I was like, "Look, when you get home, I'll come over and I'll sort you out." So I got all my stuff, got my little massage gun, got some hot ice or whatever it is, and whatever it was massaging her shoulder. And even those moments, even though as a parent, you just do what's necessary for your kids, but those are critical moments for a young girl, for a young lady, especially to be able to call her father and be like, "Yo, Dad, I need you." And for me to show up, I was honored, and I really, really appreciated that opportunity just for her to be there. Her mom was there, my son was there. So I ended up bringing food to the house, and you know what I'm saying? So it was a nice moment where, we were just able to share that space. And again, just going back to what you had asked me, um, those humbling experiences in terms of what my intentionality is for my daughter helps to continue to shape, the type of woman that I potentially are looking for myself, because it becomes an attitude of service. And although, we talk largely about the importance of men taking care of themselves and having a necessary level of selfishness to get to where they need to go so that they could show up and be in certain spaces and be healthy and be able to, lead in the right way. I also think it's really, really vital, for men to really, really just take the time out to learn and be of
Come on,
service
learn.
to the women in their lives, and to even in situations like myself where we've split up, and I've now had to shift even my approach. So when I think of my children, I have to think of their mom. I think about what her needs are, because she does a great job, and I'll never want to take that away from her. She does a really, really great job, and raising my kids, and even at times where I was in Bermuda and struggling going back and forth. It's important for her to understand that I'm a resource for her just as much as now than I ever was. You know what I mean? But that's a hard pill to swallow. That's a mature pill to swallow for the brothers out there who have had struggles with their exes or with their children's mom, who really, really still feel the pain of, "I was done wrong," or "we don't get along." But it requires a lot of humbling, a lot of mentorship, and a lot of counseling, and a lot of accountability from brothers like yourself, Chris, from brothers like you, Red, who could say, "Look, man, as we often say, it ain't your fault, but it is your responsibility." You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my take on it. I mean, it's an amazing space to be in, to just be able to just really sit in a space and say, "All right, man, this my season to serve." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's rewarding.
Yeah. So Red, man, you like me, I think you and your wife, you got together as young love birds, right? And you've been in the game with her, man. Just talk about the significance of not just being in agreement, being in one accord, being together, but the time to evolve in the space that you are, man. Talk about the woman in your life.
Yeah, man, for sure, man. Shout out to my wife, man. Like I said on the podcast, man, she's not also my superhero, but she's my superpower. You know what I'm saying? Like the man who I am today, it's not 100% because of her, but she has a lot of weight in that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? She was definitely patient with me. We got together when we was kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When we got married, we already had two kids at 20. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we've been together more than half of our lives. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So we was able to grow together,
Yeah.
and she's dope, man. She's always she's my biggest cheerleader, but at the same time, she's my biggest accountability partner.
Yeah.
Because if I'm out here slacking based off of what I'm supposed to be standing on as a father and a husband, she's gonna let
Mm.
me know. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? She's gonna let me know. However, she's so slick with it
Mm.
and mature, she'll do so in a mild and respectful way, the way I can
Mm.
receive it
Come
the
on.
right way.
Receive
You
it.
know what I'm saying? Because so
Yeah.
many times, so many times it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. for
Come
people to
on.
receive it the right way. So she's always been very, very discreet and wise with how she approaches me with
Wisdom.
anything. And I can
Yeah.
appreciate her for that. And I love her for that. And for many other reasons. As men, we thrive off of respect. You know what I'm saying? Our women, they thrive off of love. So if I feel like you're respecting me, it's gonna be easier for me to love you. And vice
Yeah.
versa. If she feel like I'm loving her, it's gonna be easier for me to respect her. I mean, and her respect me and follow my lead. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I give a lot of shout out to my wife, man. She
Yeah.
just she's dope. And
Yeah.
I hope y'all can meet
You
her one
you
day,
you
young
both
man.
said you both said some phenomenal things. Should say he's in a humbling space to learn, not
Yeah.
just in the service, but really learning. Like, okay, I'm gonna accept these differences. I see how you tick, how you talk, so I know how to rock run around that, right? And you talking about like one thing I love what you said. I call my wife my wisdom. So like when you
Mm,
said, man, she's wise and understand how to approach me with that respect factor, because I know that could be a challenge, right? Chiz, we talked
yeah.
about that too, like.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
we know we want the same goal, but the approach matters. And I always say, hey, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you do,
Hmm.
it's how you do it.
Yeah.
That really matters to a man. If you don't really get that, that's a challenge. But I want to still highlight the powerful, incredible women that we have in our lives. And my wife, one thing I tell people, the 22 years, like I've coached her and she's coached me, and I've trained her and she's trained me. So it's like
Absolutely.
a lot of what people are trying to give me credit for is like she kind of got to be here too, because I've kind of had to go back in the, what I mean, in the lab, get my reps in, trial and
Hmm.
error. A
Hmm.
lot of that testing has been with her. And so now my relationship or my rapport building or my team building or my conflict resolution or my intimacy or my engagement level, whatever you may see that's a soft skill that you really like, that came
Hmm.
from being in one commitment for 22 years, right? Of me
Yeah.
evolving and maturing and knocking my head against the wall, but getting back up and trying again and messing up and fixing it and all of that back and forth. Now here we are
Hmm.
22 years later.
Yeah.
But now I'm at a stage, right, Chizzy, where I understand I can't control nobody's choices. You
Right.
have some type of reverse psychology you done did on yourself that hey, you're in control of everything when you're young man, young bull. Like this my lady, you know what I mean? This my crib, this my. And I realize with humans, they all got free will to choose to dip at any moment.
Hmm.
They go
Yep.
sideways at any moment. So like you read, I appreciate that you're still here. I appreciate that you rock with me. I appreciate you making the choice to still show up, because I
Yeah.
have no control over that. You have to
Right.
consciously decide. And
For
And
sure.
so,
the
yeah, go
beautiful
ahead,
thing about,
Chizzy.
the beautiful thing about choice is it keeps you in a space of appreciation because you recognize that in any given day, like you said, somebody could wake up and feel different, and something could happen that could completely shift. The choice that they make. So today they may choose you, and tomorrow
Hmm.
they may not choose you. So if you're
Mm,
consistently feeling like, yo, this appreciation boy just choosing me, then that continues every day you're waking up and you're trying to maximize that day. Every day you're waking up and you're trying to serve. Every day you're waking up and you're showing that appreciation to that choice,
Hmm.
even through the bad times. And obviously that's the most difficult times to really show that appreciation. But that's where that maturity comes in. And that's where that humbling spirit that
Hmm.
men and we have learned to adopt, because we recognize that, like you said, you can't control every variable. All you can control is your responses, and you can control how you show up day in and day out, man. So
Right.
that choice, boy, is huge. I think it's undervalued in terms of how we look at even everyday experiences in our lives that really we have no real control over. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
man.
Red, tell me, tell
Yeah.
me this. How do you show everyday appreciation to your wife? What does
Oh
that
man,
look
that's a
like?
great that's a great question, man, because it's something I've been very intentional about recently, bro. My wife expressed to me maybe about 6 months ago. Uh, she commended me. She said, "You're doing a great job as being a husband, but I wish I can get a little more appreciation from you. As far as acts of appreciation. You know what I'm saying?" And I thought about it. We talked about it. And at that moment, I said, let me be more intentional because I definitely appreciate her. You know what I'm saying? I let her know I definitely appreciate you. But sometimes it's just as subtle as saying, "Hey, thank you for doing the girl's hair today," because I got 3 daughters. You know what I'm saying? So that can get
Shout out to the
expensive.
girl dad. All right. Shout out girl
You
dad.
know what I'm saying? So that can be expensive. So she did my daughter's hair. It took her all day, like from the morning to that night. She did all 3 of their heads and still had to do hers. And I said, "Hey, I appreciate you for doing their hair." And she said, "Oh, thank you for, thanking me for that." So yeah, like what I do specifically is this. Every day, I take mental notes and I put it in my phone of things I appreciate my wife for. And I'm gonna tell her at least one thing a day. I can build the list up to stretch it out. You know what I'm saying? But every day it's gonna be more and more stuff I appreciate for her. And I verbally let her know that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because I'm great at gestures. I can give you some flowers. I can do anything gesture wise, but I haven't always been great with verbally appreciation. So I
Yeah,
made an intentional effort to say, let me verbally tell her what I appreciate about what she did today, yesterday, or last week, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I found out that makes the biggest difference. It's a small gesture verbally, but it makes a big difference with my wife.
Yeah.
it drops it plants seeds, man. It's plants seeds
Hmm.
that will germinate over time. And I'm single now, and of course, I'm sure there's a lot of single brothers out there, man. Like you gotta make that investment. As you know,
Hmm.
in any trade, you make a small investment for a long term gain, and that's a
Yeah.
consistent thing. Even if your circumstances aren't what you anticipate them to be, so you may not be, you may be at odds with your ex-wife or your children's mama, man. You'd be surprised how far a little bit of investment. And I know it's difficult. I know, you might feel like, you might not want to, but a little investment into just celebrating the fact that, she does a good job with your kids. A small appreciation
Hmm.
goes a long way. And I think that's a hard pill for a lot of brothers to swallow, especially when you're going through some things. But
Yeah.
I can tell you, it goes a long way, for the long term, and it really, really, really does. I've
And
seen that
I think
myself,
yeah,
bro.
and I think we need to be more intentional about having this type of conversation because I know one of the things that I always find, and Chizzy, you confirm this, you know what I mean? But a lot of brothers who get to a place where we're estranged, we are separated, or we are legally divorced, they wasn't praying together every day. Like
Mm.
a simple thing of you squeezing your wife and praying over her, and she
Yeah.
praying over you. Do you know
Hmm.
it reduces like separation and divorce by like 90+%? That
Right.
one act
Wow.
of 1 minute and some
Hmm.
change a day. And whenever you ask somebody, we're gonna do live in effect. Chizzy,
Right. Yeah.
was one of the daily behaviors of your marriage when you were married was y'all prayed over each other every day.
Honestly, no. 100% I didn't, man. For
Yeah.
being honest, no,
Yeah.
I didn't.
And so when I wake up in the morning, I just bear hug. When I see her, something I hug her in the bed, just pray over and I rub her head and just pray over and make sure our heads are touching and just let her know I want to make sure I pour my whole spirit into you before your day starts in because I'm the head of my house. That's one
Hmm.
thing. And then I just been telling her recently how proud I am of her, of the hard work she's doing as a
Yeah.
woman in the marketplace. To just really let her know I see her. And my wife, man,
Hmm.
she just loves being around me, bro. Like we got to think about some of these isms and schisms that we have that's in our subconscious nature that could be detrimental to the
Yeah.
actual ultimate goal that we want. And being a single child or raised in a room by yourself, you learn to self-soothe and self-cope. So
Right.
my subconscious nature is like I could get on my grind, read, do my thing. I don't need
Hmm.
nobody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just come late. I just come lay the pipe and move on. It's like, nah, man, like my wife likes to be around, hang around, have conversation. And I have
Hmm.
matured recently to just like I like being in my wife's space. Like we ain't even
Yeah.
gotta do nothing. We ain't gotta have no agenda. It ain't gotta be making no moves. Like I told her I was coming down to the studio for the live. She came on down. Like that's just my baby now, man. We're just besties. We're just buddies. And I'm embracing it more, man, because I'm grateful for her. You know what I mean? I'm thankful for her. And
Right.
I know nobody told me that. The reason why I'm bringing this conversation up,
Right.
I figured this out at 40 years old. I'm 39, 38, and I'm like, dang, bro. Like we went through a lot of strain, and somebody could have said 15 years ago, Red, hey man, when you wake up in the morning, hug and pray over, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Yeah.
takes, Chisholm, when you actually think about it, take all
And
your
here's
emotions out.
yeah.
It takes nothing for you to do that.
Nothing, zero.
Right.
And funny enough, I
Right.
watched my dad do that. My dad still does that. I remember growing up as a kid, my dad and my mom every morning they're doing Bible study and they're praying of each other. And they're,
Mm-hmm.
every even if sometimes, let's say when I went to visit, when I went, took the kids to Scotland before we left the house, we would sit down and we pray and he prays everywhere, gives everybody journey and mercy. So it's something that we undervalue one, but for me, I can honestly tell you that that's the environment I grew up. Did I adopt it in my own relationship, in my own marriage? No, for whatever reason. You know what I mean? But to your point, man, you'd be surprised how far that could go, and it goes. I mean, I pray for my ex-wife now. I pray for my kids now, obviously, every day,
Mm-hmm.
and and I have to assume that that's a lot of the reasons why things have shifted in the way that they have shifted.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's still, and again, for the single brothers like this, you have to really, really, really put a little bit more time and effort because it's not going to come naturally to you,
Right.
especially when you find yourself at odds or there's an issue or the emotion of either the breakup or the divorce or the separation is still kind of high, no matter, because time doesn't allow. Sometimes time doesn't even allow for that healing to take place. So, for the single guys out there, you really have to take an additional effort in ensuring that you're doing the work on yourself first,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that in those moments you could still show up and be consistent. You could still show up and recognize that this is what's necessary to get the job done, so that my ex-wife, my ex-girlfriend, my children's mama still gets what she needs for the benefit of me and my children. Period.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
Yeah.
consistently be thinking on those terms, and it's not easy. It's not perfect. You're gonna slip up sometimes, but that's where the accountability of other brothers who can support you around that is vital as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Red, I
Absolutely.
love what you shared on the pod, man. I want you to get into this because I think you're one of the few brothers ever in my life who shared that you had because I think you discovered your clinical diagnosis of like being bipolar or having some challenges
Mm-hmm.
with your emotions and being
Yeah.
able to address it. Can you kind of help people know like kind of take us back there a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
like being able to say, hey, I got some things I need to work with. She said deal with our own stuff first. Like
Yeah.
let me make sure I'm addressing this in a way that's healthy for myself
Mm-hmm.
and all
Mm-hmm.
parties involved.
Right.
Talk about that part of dealing with your own challenges.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, man. So I was diagnosed at 17 years old actually. And it took a long time for me to get adjusted to the fact that, hey, I got to work on myself because this disorder it's literally up and down. You know what I mean? And when I met my wife, uh, I was 18 years old, and she knew of she knew of my sickness, so to speak.
So
Um,
just for the people to be clear, what was it exactly?
bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Bipolar disorder, and and just a little educational piece on it. Bipolar disorder is you have your highs, which is where you're manic, and you also have your lows, which is where you have depression. So it's two different type of bipolars. And that can actually change within the years because the first type of bipolar is you're mostly your sickness is going to be mostly manic, like you're going to be on the high, you're going to be just amped up and just grandiose and everything else. And then you have some people like myself now, this transition, I have more lows than highs. So I kind of deal with, not kind of, but I deal with major depression more than I deal with the manic side of it. So that's just the educational part. But as I grew, man, I had to really learn to pretty much, I had to learn about it first. I had to learn about what is going on with me. You know what I mean? So that's when a lot of the self-development came
Did you
and
did something happen significantly at 17? Did you feel something going on inside you that you was like what was the moment that you was like, yo, I
you know
something.
what? Yeah. So actually, I didn't know what was going on. Like I can look back on it now and kind of see it play out. My grandparents, they didn't know what was going on either, man. I was just going around just acting a complete nut. You know what I mean? And a lot of people thought like, man, Red must got on some dope or something. That wasn't the case. I was just acting not myself until I was hospitalized because of an incident. And when that happened, I stayed in the hospital for like 2 weeks, you know what I'm saying? And that's when the doctor was able to kind of just narrow it down and thoroughly examine to see what I had. But as I look back on it, I would say, uh, I was smoking, weed at the time, and that is a reason when you smoke, when you have, that's why it's kind of important that if you have a disorder like this, you really don't want to deal with
Yep.
kind of recreational drugs, any drugs anyway, because they can just
Yep.
escalate things real fast. So as I was smoking my weed, that's when things kind of started escalating, and I started acting out of my head at 17. That led to the fist fight I was telling you guys about on the pod,
Yeah.
which led to me dealing with the legal trouble. But like my parents, I didn't even know what was going on with me. My parents, my grandparents, they didn't know what was going on until I got hospitalized, and they was able to narrow it down. So once I got it, once they probably put a name on it and it made sense, I was like, okay, now let me learn about bipolar so I can see exactly how I need to move so that I won't have another episode like I did. You know what I mean? So I
Have
started
you
doing
have you
more.
had another episode since?
I haven't had another manic episode because, like I said, sometimes that changes to where you have more depression than manic, and that's what I've been having over the since the last 10 plus years. Sometimes I get real depressed, and it's like when I say depression, when you have bipolar, so you have major depression. That's just a part of it. It's like everybody gets depressed every now and then,
Right.
but when you have
Right.
major depression, that's the chemical imbalance part that we have to struggle with who have my disorder. So like.
So
Yeah, I was dealing with
let us in
more.
your world. What does that look like when you have major depression? Like what's going on with you?
Yeah, man. So I ain't gonna lie. Some days it's just small triggers. Like if the day is too gloomy, you know what I mean? That can kind of weigh me down emotionally. And then I kind of start thinking about all kind of other stuff that kind of make me sad. Like for instance, every year around the fall going into the winter, I get more sadder because around that time of year, that's when I lost my mom. That's when I lost my grandfather, both of my grandparents. So it's like certain things kind of send me down a spiral. And what I have to do, if I don't catch myself before I go down the rabbit hole, I can get depressed for days, weeks, sometimes
Mm.
months in the past, sometimes months. So what I have to do is I have to recognize my body when it's triggering me. As far as let me know, hey, something's going on. You're probably about to deal with some lows. That's when I gotta rally my support around me. I got some brothers, I got my wife, I got my family. Like that's my support system because it's very important you have a great support system when you're dealing with manic depressive or major depression itself. Because once you go down that rabbit hole, man, it's hard to get up out of. I'm gonna give you an illustration. Say for instance, you down in a hole somewhere and you can't get out, no ladder, no nothing. Well, somebody might drop you a rope, but because you're so content with isolating yourself, you will look at the rope and won't even grab it to get back out of the hole. And as a man, this is not nothing to do with the man depression part, but as a man, sometimes I kind of lean on the fact that let me get through this myself. I've been getting through everything on my own all my life. Let me just work through this myself. When in reality, the scriptures tell us not to isolate ourselves. And the reason is because it's going to be hard. It'll be a lot easier. My bad, dog. It'll be a lot easier to take that help. So I'm learning that. I learned that this year and last year to accept the help that I have around me to help me get through my down parts. It's very important because I try to do it on my own. It's hard. I've been through that for the
Mm.
last 30 plus years. So me reaching out for help with my circle and my support system has made the biggest difference for me dealing with depression.
Mm.
And I want to thank you for your transparency um, in these movements, man. This is not easy to talk about. So I really want to applaud you for that and encourage you, especially because as men, a lot of times we can't even get out of our own way. So I think it's impactful and huge that you actually take the steps to really, really surround yourself with the right people. And so for anybody that's watching out there, man, if this is something that you may be struggling with, you do not have to suffer in silence. You don't have to. It's not manly. Like going to the days where you have to be a man to say I could shoulder it all on myself, man. That is
Right.
old way of thinking. That is counterproductive in so many ways, man. I
Yeah.
encourage you if you're having feelings, even if you're having thoughts, to consider reaching out to the necessary people. You can reach out to us, and we can give you we can allocate some resources to you so that you can get support around your
Yeah.
mental health because it's vital. I started another cohort of therapy just last week. I'm super psyched about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
something I look forward to on a weekly basis, just like these calls, just like these conversations. It's immensely therapeutic to be able to
Yeah.
sit there and unpack stuff because ultimately your family's going to benefit from it. You're going to benefit
Yep.
from it. And your story is going to really push somebody else and inspire somebody
Mm-hmm.
else to get the help that is needed. And you're not less than, you're stronger as a man to seek help and to ask for help than you would if you wouldn't, man. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate your candor with this topic, man, because a lot of men are struggling on it. As we know, a lot of men have this
Mm-hmm.
Superman complex. A lot of men have this, I don't need anybody. I can do it on my own, man. And
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
real man steps back and say, man, I need help and I ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really taking the intentionality of getting my mental space in one order so I can be the best resource for my family, man. It's vital. It's huge, man. I appreciate that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
For
Thank you,
sure.
Red man. Thank you.
For sure.
And I'm telling you, want to watch this episode to see how we
Man,
go into it some more with his backstory. But I want to make another pivot, man. I want to,
mm-hmm.
man, guys. I have an incredible reflective year at 40. I was in South Africa getting ready for like just spending time. I felt like I was in motherland. I felt like I was at the beach talking to guys. So I was like, I'm about to be 40 in a couple months. Like, what does that mean? Because being conditioned in the Western world as a man of color, like there's no goals after 40, bro.
Yeah.
Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't nobody like, yeah, okay, can't wait till you get 40, bro. We got this whole blueprint for you to run. It was like I was conditioned, and I know Chiz, we the boys for 19 years, like you didn't have a lot of plays for after 40. It was just like it was almost like, man, if you make it to 40, we celebrating the fact that you made it, my guy. But
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't no so I had a lot of midlife crisis energy because I'm like, so the reason why I did the King comic because I'm just celebrating the fact that I made it to 40. But now this whole year has been it's been the most reflective year of my life. And I was at this mastermind last week, and for some kind of way, we got to this conversation about 40 and this aha moment, particularly as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I met this brother named Prince from Ghana. He was a guest there, and he was like, "Well, in Ghana, we say 40, your life has just started
Mm-hmm.
because
I love that.
you have finally finished your education track." So then I did some more due diligence, and they like in the old African, they teach mind, body, and soul. And because the spirit man needed maturity, they said that a man couldn't handle the spiritual interpretation till he was at a certain age. So they could give him the information at 15, but he wouldn't be able to properly interpret it till he was 40. So it's like now he's really educated. Now he could really move in the world and conquer and divide what he wants and need because he's fully mature and fully educated. So now his life fully starts. So they celebrate in Ghana black men to say, man, now you can start your life. Whereas for
Mm.
us, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, we feel like we behind the 8 ball 40 and up, like you chasing stuff or you trying to clean up stuff or you feel less than or you don't have your life a certain way. Like you have a different energy being 40 and up than you have in other countries of black men who like, man, you 40 now? Bang, you know who you are, you know where
Yeah.
you want to go, you know what you need, you know what you value, you know how to put boundaries on yourself. Like, man, you about to live these next 40, 50 years about to be sweet for you. It's
Yeah.
like I needed him to say that to like shake up I was in this dichotomy of sorts. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm not in a bad space, but I'm in an unknown space. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't, and this is the first, because like, man, I want to be here by the time I'm 21. You guys know how it is. When we from here, hey, by the time I'm 16, by the time I'm 18, by the time I'm
Right. You get
21,
those
and by the time I'm
milestones.
Mm-hmm.
30. But
Yeah.
40, you just like,
Right.
you old, you know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like, you know what I mean? So like,
So
it was refreshing to
you
hear
felt
that
better. You
because
felt better
we
for
don't talk about this ageism.
right.
this
Right.
ageism that we're dealing with, right?
You feel better about getting old, is what you're saying, though?
Yeah, bro. I just getting started, bro. I'm a newbie in
So,
this space, bro.
check where we are, though. See what we're doing. See what Ray's doing. Think about the journey that we're on now. So subconsciously, we've kind of started this already. So now at 40, I'm 48. You're 40. You know,
Red, how old are you, Red? You hit 40 yet?
I'm 37. I'm almost there. I feel it.
No,
the
baby.
cost.
He ain't
Yeah, the
even
cost
born
mentioned.
yet. He ain't even
So it's
born
like,
yet,
so
man.
that self-actualization piece, and
The
Maslow's
hierarchy of
hierarchy of
needs.
needs.
Yep.
That self-actualization piece is the journey that we're taking. So although in Ghana it's recognized and it's openly celebrated, I do believe that what we're doing, don't discredit the journey that we're taking, bro, because
Yeah.
we are actually in a space where we're doing exactly that. It's okay to reinvent yourself at 40. It's okay to say, all right, I now can now put my efforts towards ensuring that my legacy is now put in place. And that's kind of what I had this conversation with my son the other day. I was like, yo, like, and I'm talking to him in terms that he probably didn't understand. I was like, think about your legacy. It's like, what do you mean my legacy? Like, what are you talking about my legacy? I'm
Yeah.
like, what type of
But he's
message? How are you trying to
21,
leave
right?
that planet?
But
Go
see,
ahead.
but let's go. Let's stay there, Chizzy. Your son's
Yeah,
21, right?
yeah.
Let's be honest. As Black Americans, as Black
Nobody think
Western
about
men,
that at 21 years old.
but it was expected. You did feel the weight that at 21, you were
Right.
supposed to have certain aspects of your life
Figure
together,
it out.
of
Yeah.
yourself together. We did feel that.
Yeah.
Am I tripping?
No, you're
No,
right.
you're
You're
right.
right. You're right.
You're right.
You're right.
But
Because
here
I be
you are as
pressuring
his
him all the
dad.
time.
But here you are as his dad, active in his life, bringing up the word legacy. And he's like, "What are you even talking about? I'm 21." You get what I'm
Right.
saying? But
Yeah, yeah.
we as a culture of color, I can speak to this culture. I can't speak to every culture. We
Right.
dismiss you. Once you're 21, bruh, you need to be doing your thing, bro. You need to go get your bag, bro. You need to go get your babe, bro. You need to go get on your own. Like, so you start to posture like, yeah, I'm about to make this move. I'm about to get this new car. I'm about to go to school. You talking like you know what you're doing. You
I got
talking
no
like you
clue,
got
bro.
it together. Only for me to really understand. And because I know this, at 20s, you don't know what you're doing. In the 30s, you the figuring out part. Like you landing the plane. But like culturally, that ain't the energy you get as a Black man. You get like you 21, like, bro, you should be already
To be
have
all
your
right.
stuff
You got to
together.
figure it out.
Like,
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Right.
nah, man, you just getting started, broski.
Yep.
I,
Yep.
I even think as I even reflect on when I was doing Youth on the Move days back in the day in Bermuda, and read this is when I came back from university, and a couple of my colleagues were like, "Yo, we're gonna start a program geared towards that youth and young adults, 18 to 35-year-olds." Because, like you said, Chris, one assumes when you get to 21, you're supposed to have it all figured out, but that's not the truth. And even though
And
society
it's
has an
unfair.
expectation,
What we know now as a mature
yeah,
man, that's
no,
Yeah.
actually unfair.
it is
Very
Right.
unfair,
100%
bro.
unfair. You're setting
Right.
them up for failure because the village. You still need that village, and we're grown 40-year-old man now recognizing that that village is important. So in this next phase of our lives, we're like, yo, I need this more than ever. So we're past our 21. So what do you think the 21-year-olds need that we continue to need way into your 37, 38 years old, you're 40, I'm 48, these things that continue to help us to develop into the next phase of our lives. So, the vital conversations, like we're gonna shift this narrative. We're gonna
Right.
shift this narrative because it now seems to be an individual narrative. You're 21, you're supposed to have it figured out. That's the things that we're imposing on you. But now it should be, we're gonna shift that to be like, no, man, this is when you need the village the most. This is when the village really needs to rally around these younger
Yeah.
men so that when they get to their 40s, they can now in turn do the exact same thing for the 21-year-olds that's coming behind them. Sort of
Yeah.
thing. So it's just a continuous cycle of support that it's okay to have. Like, I don't
Right.
understand why we seem to feel like in this world we need to be traveling this journey by ourselves. And
Right.
just
Right.
because you get to a particular age, you're supposed to have it figured out, or no one's supposed to put the armor on you and say, "Look, man, I'm got you. I'm got the wisdom that you're looking for. just allow me to mentor you through this process. You know what I mean? So that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a
Mm-hmm.
narrative that we have to try to shift, especially in the Black communities, because as we know, we suffer the most from
Yeah.
this
Mm-hmm.
individualized,
Come on.
superficial mentality. You know what I mean?
So, Red, I would like
Oh,
you to answer both questions. One, did you feel the weight yourself to have it together at an early age, whatever that age
mm-hmm.
was? And did you
Mm-hmm.
also, second part of the question is, did you have a plan after 40? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, great question, man. I felt the pressure when I was 16. I
Mm,
had my son. You did. I had my first child when I was 16. So I felt the pressure to get my junk together. I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? I just said I need to get my junk together. Um, but then when I met the wife at 18, we got married, had a kid together. I was 20. So 21 kids and a wife. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Um, I think the biggest issue that I had and something I try to make sure I'm there for the younger ones now is, I like to put it in, you got your OGs, you got your homies, and you got your little homies, right? So
yeah.
I didn't have any OGs to kind of teach me the game as far as being a man. You know what I'm saying? As far as a family man and a father and a husband. Pop did his thing. But as young folk, man, we rarely like want to talk to our parents about stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it's
yeah,
always sometimes good to have an outside voice come in that can guide you. So like the OGs, that's the mentors. You know what I'm
right.
saying? That's your mentors that can help mold and give you the path to success without necessarily going through all the bumps and humps that they went through. You know what I'm saying? And then you got your homies, you got your people on the same page. Like we all in the same area right now, so we can hold each other accountable and try to get the next step of being a family man or a father or a man in general. You know what I'm saying? And then
Mm,
once you get a little experience, we all in our, like you said, 40s, and I'm almost at 40, but like now we the OGs, and now it's important for us to look back at the little homies and put them
mm,
on game. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So as far as the plan after 40, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have one then, you know what I'm saying? I'm really just now starting to figure it out as I creep up on 40.
And
You
that's
know
what I
what I'm
wanted.
saying?
That's so my biggest point was, did you like, so as you trying to handle your 20s, right? You got these two
Yeah.
kids, you get married, you ain't got no OG teaching the game, you in the bag. But like as you're in it, are you also saying like, man, when I get to 40, this the play we gonna run? Or are you just like having epiphanies now at 37, like I need to put something in place because I'm about to be
Yeah.
40?
Yeah. Nah, in my 20s, I wasn't thinking that far down the line. None of my 20s, not none of them. I didn't
Yeah.
really start thinking as far as like long term like that until like my 30s. Like honestly, I had my baby girl, she's 6. So
Mm,
that was I had her when I was like 31 years old. At that moment, I said, you know what? I have a legacy that I have to build right now. It ain't it's about me and my wife. It's about me, my wife, and my kids, and in 20, 30 years, my grandkids. So I'm like, at that moment, once I had her, when I was in my early 30s, then I started looking at, okay, what am I going to be looking like? What is my family dynamic going to be 10 years from now? What is it going to be 20 years from now? Because I'm big. I just sit back and imagine like how I'm going to be when I'm 70 years old on the front porch with my grandkids and my greats
come
running
on.
around.
Come
You know
on,
what I'm
let's
saying?
go.
That's the kind of stuff that excites me now.
Yeah.
My legacy, my generational, I'm breaking generational curses just so I can build some generational blessings. You
Yeah.
understand me? So yeah, to answer your question, when I was in my 30s, that's when I started looking down the line. 20s, I was just stuck in the moment. I'm just trying to hustle and bustle, trying to figure it all out on the go. You know what I'm saying? But in my 30s, I started getting OGs. I started getting those mentors. I started learning more about life. Like you said, the closer you get to 40, that thing you said about the gun, I never even knew that. But it makes perfect sense. But I never knew the fact that that's when things are figuring out. As men, we kind of, like you said, we try to figure stuff out so much on our own. When somebody trying to teach us, sometimes we don't even hear the wisdom in it. Because we
Yeah,
just set in our own ways.
I got Professor Holloway. He teaches history at Delaware State, and me and him had a conversation because I was just so like, again, I've been doing reflection all this year, and he was talking about, yeah, because remember Egypt taught the Greek, and the Greek was like, man, we love the spiritual part, but it takes too long. They was on
Mm,
like, hey man, we ain't waiting 40 years, so we're gonna cut that part out and only educate the kids up until 15. So we're going to teach them knowledge and information, but not spirit. So that's when they created the education system, secondary, primary, to learn the main two things by the time you're 15, 16 years old. And then Europe adopted it, and then Europe brought that over. But what they didn't realize, they cut out the spirit. So we got institutionalized when we got colonized on a shorter version, but from an African diaspora, like the main portion they cut out was the biggest portion, was the spiritual, which left us individualized in our once we're free to express ourselves, but you never understood the maturity of spiritual discernment and how much that embeds all the knowledge that you have, that embeds all the decisions that you make these spiritual wisdom discerning decisions with the knowledge and information and history that you have, not just I got an opinion, I got an idea, I'm gonna make a decision. No, you have to consult your spirit, man. You have to consult wisdom. You have to consult the discerning of your ancestors. That tells you what decision you're gonna make, man of God. Not just I got an opinion and an idea in the moment. And I wrap up with this. I throw it back to you guys about how we have to literally think legacy by making these long in the moment. I'm making a decision that I may take an L and I'm cool with it because I'm actually thinking about 15, 20 years from now. There was this professor in California, I can't remember which school, so I do apologize, but it was the best of the best, creme of the creme, highly academic. But it was ethnic groups in this one class, I think it was philosophy, of all over the world. And the only group that was struggling was the Black kids. And they was like, why is the Black kids, because he's like, perfect SATs, 5 points. So intelligence is out the window. He knew for a fact they wasn't struggling because they was not smart enough. Like he knew they were smart enough. Like he knew they was capable. But the reality is the whole group of Black kids was struggling. And as a professor who is at one of the best professors in the best universities, that don't look good on him. So he's doing some research like, why are the Black kids doing bad? Here's the thing. As he studied the other groups of kids and he studied the Black kids outside the classroom, they were the only group studying by themselves. Every other ethnic group came together and went in huddles and studied. And John Maxwell said shared ideas will always beat single ideas. And what was killing them was that their subconscious conditioning of being on survival remorse, of figuring it out myself, left them at an opportunity to do something incredible. The thought don't even come to them to say, come together. You know
And
what I mean?
I'm gonna take it a step further, right? Subconsciously, it's embedded, but intentionally, it was done to divide a race of people. And if you backtracked it 400 or 500 years, there was a level of intentionality that manifested in the slave trade, in the African diaspora, which caused us to be a different place. So to your point, the reason why we are somewhat behind the eight ball has a lot to do with, the conditioning. I'm gonna just say the conditioning. I don't want to get into a whole race conversation and a conversation around, colonialization and stuff like that. But these are the other things that we need to now deconstruct and reshape in terms of the conversations that we're having with young Black men and with our culture in of itself. Because, to your point, Chris, like it's a lot. The learning curve is huge. It's huge for us because we've had, and this is not an excuse. We had suffered a lot of atrocities and a lot of psychological damage, I'm gonna say, as a result of our journey and what we've had to experience and what we've had to endure, and how survival creates a certain level, a certain subconscious way of acting that we don't even know we have to do. And it plays out day in and day out in how we conduct ourselves in business, how we conduct ourselves with our families, in our communities. And so, this is a whole journey that needs to continue for the psychological Black man that we have to approach differently than our other cultural counterparts, because there's a lot that needs to be really, really reshaped so that the generations coming after us can understand why it's necessary to function in different communities, why it's necessary to associate and learn and have that groupthink around different cultures, so that you take away, so you kind of dismantle this psychological barriers that's been put upon us just as a result of the slave trade and a different cultural experience that other races don't really necessarily have to navigate. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and Red, you
Yeah.
mentioned that, man. You mentioned that part of your stabilization is your support system. You said it over and over. So separate of your support system and hey, making sure I'm good in this aspect, like how have it been navigating, creating, or do you have a support system when it comes to you navigating your legacy as a man? Like, do you have those spaces in place where you're very intentional, but also you got very good support in developing this family that you are in charge of to create something that doesn't exist? I don't know if it
Yeah.
ever existed in your family lineage, if your dad
Mm-hmm.
hands you a blueprint of what to do and what not to do, but you in this spot right now, but what support systems do you have around to help you develop what you're developing now for your family?
Yeah. Great question. Great question. So yeah, man, I'm definitely very intentional with finding good support as a man. You know what I mean? Going to the King conference last year was an eye opener. You
Mm,
dig? I was like, I got some work to do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I'm good, but I got some work to do because what? Because the journey continues, right? That's
yeah.
that's the motto. So, within my congregation, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so we go to the Kingdom Hall, and it's a lot of older individuals in my particular congregation, which is a blessing, you know what I'm saying? Because there's wisdom and gray hair. So when I look at some of the older brothers that I know, and I see that they've been married just as long as I've been born, you know what I'm saying? Even longer. Their kids is my age, their grandkids my age sometimes. And I sit back and I chop it up with them because like I ain't got it all figured out. You know what I'm saying? I've been together for a
Mm,
long time with my wife, but in order for me to get another 30, 40, 50 years out of it, I need some wisdom from someone who's been there and who's
mm,
there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do. I rock out with that's who I consider my OGs in a sense. People, these older men who's established a great legacy for their family, and that's more than willing to pretty much give me the game. Give me the game so I can make sure because they want me to win. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And it's
fact.
always important when you got your support system that really genuinely wants you to win. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And that's what I get from them, those older brothers, man. So like, and Pops do a great job too. Like Pops never been married, but he's always been a great father. I'm gonna give him that. He's always been a great father, man. One quality I learned from him is patience. Because me
mm.
and my sister tested his patience a lot. You know what I'm saying? But
Shout
he
out to
never
the
got out of
sister.
character.
Like, we
Shout out
both
to
we
my
both
sister,
got out
man.
of character. Yeah,
Yes.
but
So,
great,
shout
but
out to
great,
him.
yeah, but great. Shout out to Pops and great alley
Yeah.
oop to the King Conference, man. Chizzy,
Oh, yeah.
tell
Yeah,
the people why they need to show up to the King Conference on April 20th in Atlanta, man. Talk to the people.
man, that guy Ray could speak to this. He just spoke to it. The King Conference is a intimate, and that's the part that I like the most, that I love the most, that I want to put out there. It's amazing speakers, but you get an opportunity to sit with people like myself, like Red, like you, like other men and women who can share their stories, and you have a shared experience and learn what it's like and how you can gain some resources and some support around the stuff that we all struggle with day to day. I've
Yeah.
been to a bunch of conferences in my life, but King Con, as we know, and we design in that particular way where it's intimate and it's small, and you really get a hands-on experience in growth and learning about a shared experience that we all have. That's the most
Mm-hmm.
important part. Nothing that we discuss has never been discussed in other circles. But when you bring everyone together in a small environment, we can have a shared learning experience. And you spoke to that just now in terms of how we shouldn't isolate ourselves. So come to King Con on April 20th in Atlanta, Georgia. I got my dad coming in from
Oh, shout out
Scotland.
to Pops is coming through. You know what
I'm carrying my son with me. You know what
Oh,
I'm
the
saying?
youngest coming
So
through.
the youngest
Young
coming through
Chizzy's
too,
pulling
man.
up.
Yeah. So yeah, come to
Yeah,
King Con April 20th. It's gonna be epic. It's an intimate setting. Get your tickets now. The link's gonna be in the bio. The link's gonna be in the description. You gotta be there on April 20th because you will have
Mm-hmm.
an amazing experience. And we're just looking forward to having real conversations with real people about real things. And that's
facts. And
exciting.
Red, thank you, Chizzy. Red, what was your highlight of the King Con for you personally? What was your major
Man,
takeaway?
Man, the breakout sessions, bro. Like
Yeah,
the
see?
breakout sessions was dope, man. To be able to, like you said, it was still intimate, right? So to be able to hear other people's experience, other men's experience, and be like, wow, he's going through something I'm going through right now. So let me just sit back and listen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And it was just the intimacy part, like Chizzy said, was just the dopest thing ever about the whole King conference. Like I've been to plenty of conferences too, and you got like 1,000+ people, sometimes 2 or 3,000. This one right here was, I felt like we was at home in the man cave with the fellas.
Yes,
You know
sir.
what I mean?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
And we just powwowing it out, chopping it up, man. So I'm looking forward to going back. I already done
Yeah,
told a lot of my partners, man, y'all got to be there, man. Let's go together, type. You know what I'm saying? Because
facts.
it's gonna be
And
impactful,
and
bro.
and to again, we have limited seating where we're not allowing a lot of people for the purpose of what is the purpose is to actually have men and women learn about men. And for
Yeah.
women
Hmm.
to listen, to really understand, like these are the because men don't really talk like that. We don't find a lot of safe
Right.
spaces for us to share with our sisters, with our significant
Hmm.
others, like for them to really understand, like we love y'all, but we're dealing with what we're dealing with, and a lot of it, y'all can't really do nothing for us to deal with it ourselves, but you can make it easier and not
Yeah.
make it more challenging for us to deal with what we got. Like we still got to be a man about our own personal growth and development. But
Hmm.
sometimes the incubator that we're in can make it either less inviting or more inviting for us to work on it with you or without you. Right. And so
Hmm.
it's really a space, a safe space to really for all men to feel seen, heard, felt, understood, and also for the women to be there to get the game and be like, this is what men are really dealing with. So now I know how to support a man based on
Hmm.
this,
Facts.
based on that. And that is huge for
Yeah.
our culture. That is huge for our humanity. That is huge for our relationship. So I am super excited. We got some more information coming soon about all the people that's going to be joining us, but it's still going to be the same vibe. One day only, intimate setting, breakout sessions. They're going to be a women only group. There's going to be a married only group, a single only group. Like it's going to be a different breakout sessions to really understand, okay, this is what married people are really dealing with. Bet. This is what single people are really cool. Like now you can go back with some real, not what Instagram is telling you, with some real life, real people scenarios to understand that, hey, I need to ask more questions. I need to do some more learning. I need to
Hmm.
get involved a little bit more. Man, so we want to thank you, man. To let the people know, Red, where they can find out all things Red Inspires, man. How they get in touch with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, for sure, man. So Instagram at Red Inspires, Twitter, Red Inspires. You can find my book right here. Lost
Come
Boys
on.
to Men, a poetic
Yes,
story of
sir.
trauma,
Yes,
transparency,
sir.
and
Most boys
yeah,
to
appreciate you,
man. Yes,
my guy.
sir.
Appreciate you, my guy. You can find it on Amazon, man. Just type Lost Boys to Men, it's popping right up. My website, you can find me on there. I am redinspires.com. I made it real simple, man. The podcast, Red Inspired. I wanted everything to be simple.
I like
So
it.
I definitely want to thank you guys, man, for blessing me with the opportunity, man. It's a long time coming, man. I wanted to get on the show
Appreciate you,
last
man.
year. I was like, I got to get in with these guys, man. But
Yeah,
y'all been some
man.
solid dudes, man. I appreciate y'all.
Hey, no problem. Chizzy, man, let the people know how they get in contact with you, bro.
First of all, I just want to say Red's episode drops tomorrow
Come
at
on.
12 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss it. We touched a little bit about his story. It's going to get deeper. It's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss it on YouTube. Check out Red's episode on Boy Man King, man. But you can find me on Chizzy BDA on Instagram. On the Couch is coming, you know what I'm saying? TikTok. But I'm available, Boy Man King, co-hosted with my man, 100 grams for 19, 20 plus years of family, my brother, Chris
Come on.
Crumpler. Man, you can find me there, man. I appreciate everything. I enjoy these moments. I enjoy these talks. It is very, very therapeutic and helpful for me, man. As I say, well, there's one person listening or a million listening, we're gonna keep this moving, man.
But now we know we got thousands listening, right? Because we almost at 1,000
Yeah.
subscribers, man. So
Yeah,
please like,
congrats.
share, and subscribe, man. We're super excited. We haven't came up what we're gonna do for our 1,000 subscribers, but we want you
We
to
gonna
know,
figure stuff
me and
out.
Chizzy, man, we really appreciate. Shout out to the team, Kai the
Love.
Guy, Noel the King. Like, we really appreciate everything that our team has done, our listeners. But man, we really want to see you in person. If you've been listening to us, if you've been chopping up with us, man, I got a first time ever to meet Red last year. He was like, man, I follow what y'all doing. I love what you boys are putting out. Man, if
Great.
you love the effort, the energy, the time, the money, the resource we put out about sharing this platform, man, come see us in person just to show love, just to break bread, just to show respect, man. We're going to at least have a croissant and some water for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to at least hold you over for the day. Come through for your boy. But I
For
want to
sure.
be clear, man, there are limited seats, but we did open up 20 VIP seats, which allows you to get an intimate access to me and Chizzy. Man, we got our family go be in the building. You really want to be there, man. Red's going to come back. He's going to be in the building. So you want to make sure that you're there. We appreciate you, man. Guys, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time.
Man, where could they find you, man? You said everybody else.
Man, you already know the King Coach, but I want you to get these tickets at thekingconference.com. Go get these tickets. Show up. It's going down next month, April 20th in Atlanta. All-day event. We got general admission and we got VIP, limited seating. We got some special guests coming. That's going to be dropping soon. But man, you want to be in the building. It's going to be an amazing experience, man. But look, man, appreciate you guys. As always, man, it's a pleasure. Red, thank you for coming on the platform again, brother. You, and go check out that episode. It drops tomorrow at 12 and tap in. Next